Nothing is absolute but the absolute, that nothing is absolute but the absolute.
The Sikh community, or does Sikhism believe in the finality of the Akal Purukh?
But we keep going back to Punjab.
सिखी बोला जाए, चाहे खालसा पंथ बोला जाए, चाहे नानक पंथी बोला जाए, उन सबके एक अलग अलग नीश हैं.
Anywhere there is abhiman, ankar, there is hate, nafrat. Jab love ko beri meet, nehchal nahi cheat. And it springs from ignorance.
Yeah.
It springs from ignorance. And as I said, that we need not talk to the ignorant. We don't have.
गुरु नानक देव कहते हैं कि अरबद नरबद धुंधु कारा धरणी ना गगना हुक्म अपारा.
Also, Guruji, I wanted to ask this whole SGPC, as you mentioned, disenfranchisement of people who don't wear the paanch kakars. They started to make rules to kind of segregate Sikhs from the other people. Sahajdhari nahi mante, ye nahi mante. They're completely taking it.
देखो ये पंज ਕਾਂ ਸਿੰਘ ਨਾਭਾ ਤੇ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਦੇਖ ਲਓ, ਗੁਰਮਤਿ ਮਾਰਟੰਡ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਦੇਖ ਲਓ, ਉਹਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਜ਼ਿਕਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਕਾਰਨ ਹੈਗਾ. ਪਹਿਲੋਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜ਼ਿਕਰ ਪੰਜ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰਾਂ ਦਾ. ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਹੁਣ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ 18 ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਮਜਮੇ ਜਾਵਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਕੜਾ ਵੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰ ਹੈ. ਇਹ ਸ਼ਿਵ ਜੀ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਂਦਾ. ਬਾਕੀ ਕੇਸ ਦਾ ਹੀ ਦਸਤਾਰ ਬਣਾ ਤੋਂ ਹੁਣ ਕੇਸ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਲਫ਼ਜ਼ ਹੈ ਕੇਸ ਜਿਹਦਾ ਇਹ ਹੈਗਾ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਸਿਰ ਦੇ ਕੇਸ, ਉਹ ਦਾੜੀ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਕੇਸ ਹੈ. ਇਹਨੂੰ ਕੇਸ ਮੰਨਦੇ ਇਹ ਕੇਸ ਹੈਗਾ. ਔਰ ਬਾਕੀ ਜੋ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਕੜਾ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਵਧੀਆ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰ ਵੀ ਹੈਗਾ. ਜੇ ਬਾਜੂਬੰਦ ਪਾਏ ਹੋਣ ਤੇ ਦੇਖ ਲਓ ਪੁਰਾਣੀ ਤਸਵੀਰਾਂ, ਜੇ ਬਾਜੂਬੰਦ ਪਾਏ ਹੋਣ ਨਾ ਗੋਂਡ ਪਾਏ ਹੋਣ ਉਹ ਕੜਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਫਿਰ, ਉਹ ਅੜਦਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਦਾ. ਤਾਂ ਬਾਕੀ ਉਹ ਕੱਛ ਹੈ ਕਸ਼ਹਿਰਾ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਵਧੀਆ ਵਸਤਰ ਹੈ. ਇਹ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਵੀ ਮੰਨ ਨੱਠਣਾ ਭੱਜਣਾ ਜੰਗਜੂ ਕਰਨਾ ਕਿਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਧੋਤੀ ਕੱਟੀ ਆਏ ਕਿਦਾਂ ਲਹਿੰਗਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣਦੀ. ਤਾਂ ਬਾਕੀ ਚੋਲੇ ਤੇ ਜਦ ਬਾਅਦ ਚ ਆਏਗਾ. ਚੋਲੇ ਦੋ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੇ, ਇੱਕ ਦਰਬਾਰੀ ਚੋਲਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਲੰਮਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹਨ. ਤਾਂ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ ਵਾਲੇ ਜਦ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ ਸਮੇਂ ਜੋ ਪ੍ਰਭਾਵ ਹੋਇਆ ਉੱਥੇ ਅਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਬੈਲਟ ਇੱਥੇ ਲੱਗ ਗਈ ਕਿਦਾ ਬਗਰਾਈਆਂ ਤਾਂ ਪੋਕਟ ਆ ਗਿਆ. ਇਹ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਪਲਿਟ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਮੁਸਲਮਾਨ ਸਲਵਾਰ ਤੋਂ ਆਇਆ. ਏਦਾਂ
ਮਿਲਟਰੀ ਯੂਨੀਫਾਰਮ
ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮਿਲਟਰੀ ਯੂਨੀਫਾਰਮ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹ ਸਾਰੀ ਫੌਜ ਇਕੱਠੀ ਹੋਦੀ. ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਬਹੁਤੀਆਂ ਫੌਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਯੂਨੀਫਾਰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗਾ. ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਕਿ ਆ ਯਾਰ ਨੀਲਾ ਬਾਣਾ ਇਸ ਰੰਗ ਦਾ. ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਹੁਣ ਕਈ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ. ਇਹ ਲਾਈਟ ਦੇ ਲੋਅਰ ਐਂਡ ਸਪੈਕਟਰਮ ਤੇ ਆ. ਲਾਈਟ ਦੀ ਸਪੈਕਟਰਮ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਲੋਅ ਤੇ ਆ. ਜੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਪੱਟ ਵੀ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਵੇ ਤੇ ਛੱਤਰ ਵੱਜੇ ਹੋਏ ਇਹ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਖੂਨ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਕੋਈ ਸਵੈਟ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ. ਅਦਰਵਾਈਜ਼ ਜੰਗ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਸੱਟ ਨਾਲ ਤਲਵਾਰ ਦਾ ਖੂਨ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਵੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਮਾਰ ਪੈਂਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਬਲੱਡ ਇਸ ਈਜ਼ੀਲੀ ਕਿਲ. ਤਾਂ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਹ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਵਿਦਿਆ ਹੈਗੀ ਕਿਤੇ ਥੋੜਾ ਵੀ ਹੈਗਾ. ਦੇਖੋ ਮੈਂ ਪਾਇਆ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਕਲੀਆਂ ਵਾਲਾ, ਇਹ ਜਦ ਮੈਂ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਵੀ ਪੈਂਤਰੇ 'ਚ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਦਿਸਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਮਾਲੂਮ ਕਿਤੇ ਨੂੰ ਮੇਰੀ ਚਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ. ਸੋ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਇਜ਼ ਪਿਓਰ ਸਾਇੰਸ. ਉਹ ਸਾਇੰਸ ਹੀ ਕੋਈ ਬ੍ਰਹਮ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਸਾਰੇ ਇਸ ਪਿਓਰ ਸਾਇੰਸ. ਉਹ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਮਤਲਬ ਕੋਈ ਫਾਲਤੂ ਗੱਲ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ. ਇਸ ਲਈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਰਿਸ਼ੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਰੂਪ ਆ ਇਹ ਛਤਰੀਆ ਸਰੂਪ ਸੁੰਦਰ ਲਾਗੇ ਸਿਰ ਕੇ ਸਿੱਖਿਆਤਰੀ ਬੰਦੇ. ਇਹਦਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਭੁੰਗ ਲਿਖਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਲਫ਼ਜ਼ ਸੰਤ ਸਿਪਾਹੀ ਵੀ ਹੈਗਾ ਨਾ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਵੈਸੇ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਲਿਆਂਦਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਐਂਪਰਰ ਡਾਇਕਲੀਸ਼ਨ ਰੋਮਨ ਐਂਪਰਰ ਹੋਇਆ ਉਹ ਕ੍ਰਿਸਚੀਅਨ ਨਾਲ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ. ਤੇ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਉਹਦੀ ਫੌਜ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਮਤਲਬ ਰੋਮਨ ਕ੍ਰਿਸਚੀਅਨ ਬਣ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਮਾਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ. ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਫਿਰ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੇਂਟ ਸੋਲਜਰਸ when the saints go marching on song ਉਹਨਾਂ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਹ ਦੇਖੋ ਇੱਥੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਰੱਖੋ ਪਹਿਲੋਂ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਕਿਤੇ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸੰਤ ਸਿਪਾਹੀ ਲਫ਼ਜ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ. ਸੰਤ ਦਾ ਜ਼ਿਕਰ ਸੰਤ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸਤੋਗੁਣੀ ਮਰਿਆਦਾ ਵਾਲੇ ਜਦ ਕਿ ਛਤਰੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਰਜੋਗੁਣੀ ਮਰਿਆਦਾ ਵਾਲੇ. ਜਿਹੜਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਠੀਕ ਆ ਇਸਦੀ ਬਿਰਤੀ ਸਤੋਗੁਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਆ ਪਰ ਇਹਦੀ ਉਹ ਕਿਰਿਆ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਰਜੋਗੁਣੀ ਆ ਰਾਜਿਆਂ ਵਾਲੀ ਆ. ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਤਮਸਗੁਣ ਤੋਂ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਤਮਸਗੁਣ ਦਾ ਧਿਆਨ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਕੀ ਤਮਸਗੁਣ ਹੈਗਾ. ਉਹਦਾ ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤਮਸਗੁਣ ਦੀ ਪਰ ਤਮਸੇ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ. ਸੋ ਹੀ ਇਜ਼ ਅਵੇਅਰ ਆਫ ਤਮਸਗੁਣ. His conduct is Rajoguni, his mindset is Taptoguni. Guru Sahib ਨੇ ਇਦਾਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਜੋ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਖੂਬੀਆਂ ਸੀ ਸਨਾਤਨ ਮਤ ਸਾਰੀ ਖੂਬੀਆਂ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸਨਾਤਨ ਮਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਪੁਰਾਣੀ ਹੈ ਕਿਤਾ. ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਲੰਮਾ ਸਫ਼ਰ ਕਰੀਏ ਆਪਣੇ ਹਰੇਕ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਐਬ ਵੀ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ some things go like ਖਰਾਬ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ. ਸੋ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਇੱਕ ਸਮੇਂ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਫਲੋ ਸੀਗਾ. ਦੇਖੋ ਹਿੰਦੂ ਮਤ ਪਨੀਰੀ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਇਹ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਨਿਰਗੁਣ ਉਪਾਸਨਾ. ਜੇਕਰ ਕੋਈ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਹਿੰਦੂਆਂ 'ਚ ਆ ਕੇ ਨਾ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ 'ਚ ਆ ਕੇ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕ ਲਏ ਤਿਆਰ ਪੱਤਰ ਹੋਵੇ ਜਾਂ ਨਾ ਵੀ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕੇ ਨਿਰਮਿਆ ਅਦਾਸੀ ਕਣਕ ਹਜੇ ਵੀ ਬੈਠੇ ਬਾਬੇ ਉਹ ਬਾਬਾ ਗਿਆਨਦੇਵ ਸਿੰਘ ਹਜੇ ਵੀ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਮੁਖੀ ਇੱਕ ਪਾਸੇ ਸੰਨਿਆਸੀ ਸੰਪਰਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਪਾਸੇ ਨਿਰਮੇ ਦਾ ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਚਰਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਲੈ ਲਓ. ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਹੋਣਾ ਸਿੱਖ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਆ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਵੇਲੇ ਕਿਦਾਂ ਨਾ ਉੱਠ ਕੇ ਨਾਮ ਜਪੋਗੇ ਬਾਣੀ ਦਾ ਆਖੋਗੇ ਬ੍ਰਹਮ ਉੱਠੋਗੇ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਵੇਲੇ ਉੱਠੋਗੇ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖ। ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਨੂੰ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਪਰ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਵੇਲੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਉੱਠਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਤੇ ਭੜ ਕੇ ਉੱਠ ਕੇ ਨਾਮ ਤੇ ਆਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਵੈਸੇ ਕਹਾਵੇ ਪਰ ਨਾਮ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਨਹੀਂ। ਔਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਆ ਉਹ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜੇ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਭੜ ਕੇ ਨਾਮ ਵੀ ਤੇ ਹੋਣਾ ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਫਿਰ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰ ਦਾ ਅਭਿਆਸ ਕਰਨਾ, ਧਰਮ ਦੀ ਪਾਲਣਾ ਵੀ ਕਰਨੀ, ਰੱਖਿਆ ਵੀ ਕਰਨੀ, ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਉਂਝ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੱਗਾਂ ਦਾੜੀ ਰੱਖੀਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਕਿਤਾ ਨਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਾਮ ਜਪਣਾ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰ ਸੁਦਾ, ਇਹ ਫਿਰ ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਨਾਮ ਲੈਵਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ। ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਹੈਗੀ ਹਾਸ਼। ਤਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਕਿ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਇਤਰਾਜ਼ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੇ ਗੁੱਸੇ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੇ, ਫਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪ ਹੀ ਅੰਦਰ ਖੋ ਕੇ ਦੇਖ ਲਓ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਿ ਇਹੀ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਰਹਿਣੀ ਰਹੇ ਕਿ ਸੋ ਸਿੱਖ ਮੇਰਾ ਉਹ ਰਹਿਣੀ ਰਹਿ ਜਾਓ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ। ਤਾਂ ਇਨ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਰਾਜ 19 ਪਾੜੇ ਐਸਜੀਪੀਸੀ ਵੀ ਹੋਣ ਚ ਆਏ, ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਐਕਟ ਵੀ ਆਇਆ। ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਐਕਟ ਤੋਂ ਅਲੱਗ ਲੈਵਲ ਦਾ ਐਕਟ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ। ਆਪਣੇ ਹੁਣ ਹਿੰਦੂ ਐਕਟ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਹਰ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਉਸ ਸਮੇਂ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ। ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਇਹ ਅਲੱਗ ਸ਼੍ਰੋਮਣੀ ਉਹ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸ਼੍ਰੋਮਣੀ ਪੰਥ ਪੜਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਕਾਲੀ ਵੀ ਨਿਹੰਗ ਸਿੰਘ ਹੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ। ਇਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਲਿਆ। ਪਰ ਨਿਹੰਗ ਸਿੰਘ ਆਫਟਰ ਐਂਗਲੋ ਸਿੱਖ ਵੋਰ 90% ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜੰਗ ਵਾਲੇ ਸੀਗੇ, ਦੋ ਤਿੰਨ ਨਿਹੰਗ, ਇੱਕ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਜੰਗ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੇ, ਇੱਕ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਮਤਲਬ ਪਾਠ ਪੂਜਾ ਕਰਦੇ। 95% ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜੰਗ ਵਾਲੇ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਮਤਲਬ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ, ਤਾਂ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੇ ਬਹੁਤੇ ਰਹਿ ਗਏ। ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਰਹੇ। ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਹਾਲਤ ਇੰਨੀ ਮੰਦੀ ਹੋਈ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ ਰਾਜ ਵੇਲੇ ਇਹ ਮਤਲਬ ਇੱਕ ਪਾਸੇ ਆਰਮਸ ਐਕਟ ਆ ਗਿਆ, ਇੱਕ ਪਾਸੇ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਮਤਲਬ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਐਕਟ, ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਟ੍ਰਾਈਬਸ ਐਕਟ ਆ ਗਿਆ। ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਨਿਹੰਗ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਚ ਗਿਣਾਤਾ, ਸੰਨਿਆਸੀ ਨੂੰ ਗਿਣਾਤਾ। ਇਹ ਡਰੱਗ ਵੀ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਹੁਣ। ਅੱਗੇ ਰਹਿਤ ਨਾਮ ਚ ਇਹ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਰਤੀ ਫਿੰਗ ਜੋ ਮਾਸਾ ਭੰਗ ਖਾਵੇ ਸਰਨ ਸੰਗ ਇਨਕੇ ਅਦਕ ਅਮੁਕ ਮਤ ਨਰ ਦੁੱਖ ਪਾਵੇ। ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਰੱਤੀ ਖਾਦੇ, ਰੱਤੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ 7 ਚੌਲ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ। ਰੱਤੀ ਫਿੰਗ ਜੋ ਮਾਸਾ ਭੰਗ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਖਾਓ, ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਅਮਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਖਾਓਗੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੁੱਖ ਪਾਓਗੇ। ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ ਰਾਜ ਵੇਲੇ ਇਹਦੀ ਡਰੱਗਾਂ ਦੀ ਨਿਹੰਗਾਂ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਖੁੱਲੀ ਛੁੱਟੀ ਕਰਤੀ, ਦੇਈ ਜਾਓ ਖਾਈ ਜਾਓ ਛਕੀ ਜਾਓ। ਹੁਣ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਫਿਰ ਇਲ ਡਿਸਪਲਿਨ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਵੇਰ ਨੂੰ ਮਤਲਬ ਉੱਠੀ ਦਾ, ਅਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮੈਂ 3-4 ਘੰਟੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਅਭਿਆਸ ਕਰੀਦਾ, ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਘੰਟਾ ਮਾਰੀ ਦੀਆਂ, ਫਿਰ ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਅਭਿਆਸ ਕਰੀਦਾ, ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਡਿਸਪਲਿਨ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ। ਉਹ ਜਦ ਡਿਸਪਲਿਨ ਨਾ ਰਹੀ ਤਾਂ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਖੁੱਲੇ ਨਸ਼ੇ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਆ। ਏਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਰਾਜਪੂਤਾਂ ਚ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੋਣੀ। ਜਦ ਰਾਜਪੂਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਅਧੀਨ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ਾਂ ਦੇ, ਉਹਨੇ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਐਸ਼ ਕਰੋ ਮੌਜ ਕਰੋ ਜੋ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਕਰੋ। ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਫੇ ਕੋਈ ਗਲਤ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਦੇਸ਼ ਵਿੱਚ, ਉਹਨੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਦੇਖੋ ਵੀ ਆ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਰਾਜੇ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਬਸ ਉਹ ਏਦਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ, ਉਹ ਚਲਾਕ ਸੀਗੇ, ਉਹ ਬਲੇਮ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦਿੰਦੇ।
Thank you so much, Gurudev ji. I think you've summed up so beautifully. I have nothing else to ask. But जैसे आपने बोला, you said that this ये स्वरूप है खालसा का. To see this right in front of our eyes is a reminiscence of how Guru Gobind Singh Ji's Khalsa would have been.
Not only that, how the ancient Rishi Munis, how the ancient Kshatriya would have been like. So even if you look at Guru Gobind Singh's pictures ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਨਾ, ਵੈਸੇ ਉਹ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਮਤਲਬ ਮਨ ਘੱਟ ਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਾ। And then you take Shivaji Maharaj, ਇਹ ਥੋੜੀ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਹੋ ਜਾਏ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਰੂਪ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਕਿਦਾਂ, ਪੱਗਾਂ ਦਾੜੀਆਂ ਮੁੱਛਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਕਿਦਾਂ। ਇਹ ਛਤਰੀਆ ਸਰੂਪ ਹੈ ਸਾਰਾ। ਜੇ ਹੁਣ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਅਭਿਆਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਨਾ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੁਣ ਦਮਾਲਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਕਿਦਾਂ, ਇਹ ਦਮਾਲਾ ਖਾਸ ਕਿਸਮ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਇੱਥੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਪੈਂਤਰਾ ਪਾਉਂਦਾ ਨਾ ਚਾਲ ਚੱਲਦਾ, ਇਹ ਸਭ ਸਹਾਇਤਾ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਹੈਲਪਸ ਮੀ ਮੂਵ ਇਨ ਅ ਪਾਰਟਿਕੂਲਰ ਵੇ ਵਿਦ ਪਾਰਟਿਕੂਲਰ ਬੋਡੀ ਮਕੈਨਿਕ। ਇਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦਾ ਸਰੂਪ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਇਹ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਰਿਸ਼ੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਸਰੂਪ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੁਰਖਾਂ ਦਾ ਹਨ ਸਰੂਪ ਹੈ। ਕਿ ਇਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਤੱਕ ਸੀਮਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੇ ਬਾਬੜੀਆਂ ਕਹਾਣੀਆਂ ਲਿਖੀਆਂ, ਬਾਬੇ ਖਾਂ ਪੁੱਤ ਸਪੁੱਤ ਸੋ ਕਾਰਨ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ, ਕਿ ਬਾਬਿਆਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗਾਂ ਕਹਾਣੀ ਸੇ ਪੁੱਤਰ ਸਪੁੱਤਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ, ਜੇ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਪਾਵੇ ਸੇ ਮੰਨਣ ਸੇ ਕਰਮ ਕਰਨ। ਉਹ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਬਾਬੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਹੁਣ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਤੋਂ, ਹੁਣ ਆ ਇਹ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਤੁਕਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਹਨ ਬਾਬੇ ਕਹਾਣੀ ਸਪੁੱਤ ਕਰਨ, ਤਾਂ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਇਹ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਸੇਵੇ ਸੇ ਕਰਨ ਸੇ ਕਰਮ ਕਰਨ। ਇਹ ਤੁਕਾਂ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਿਆਂ ਥਾਂ ਥਾਂ ਲਿਖੀਆਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ। ਪਰ ਅਗਲੀ ਤੁਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਲਿਖਦਾ। ਅਗਲੀ ਤੁਕ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਜਾਓ ਪੁੱਛੋ ਸਿਮਰਤ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰ ਵਿਆਸ ਸਿੱਖ ਨਾਰਦ। ਕਿਹੜੇ ਬਾਬੇ ਸੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਬਾਬੇ ਉਹ ਸੀ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਿਮਰਤੀਆਂ ਲਿਖੀਆਂ, ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰ ਲਿਖੇ ਆ। ਰਿਸ਼ੀ ਵਿਆਸ ਜੀ, ਸੁਖ ਜੀ, ਨਾਰਦ ਜੀ, ਉਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਬਾਬੇ ਹੋਏ ਆ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੇਦ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰ ਸਾਰੇ ਲਿਖੇ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ। ਵੇਦਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਨਾਮ ਉੱਤੇ ਉਤਮ ਸੋ ਸੁਣੇ ਨਾਹੀ ਪੁਰਾਣੀ। ਸਿਮਰ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰ ਵੇਦ ਉਹ ਪੁਰਾਣ ਪਾਰ ਬ੍ਰਹਮ ਕਾ ਕਰਨ ਵਿਖਿਆਣ। ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਆ, ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਹੈਗੀ ਕਿ ਵੇਦ ਕਿਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਫਿੱਤਰ ਕਈ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਵਾਧੂ ਆ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਕਈ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਉਦੋਂ ਤੁੱਕਦੀਆਂ ਸੀ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੁੱਕਦੀਆਂ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ। ਇਜ਼ ਨੋਟ ਰੈਲੇਵੈਂਟ ਨਾਓ। ਫਿਰ ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਕਿ ਉਹਦਾ ਗਿਆਨ ਹੀ ਮਤਲਬ ਗਿਆਨ ਉਹੀ ਆ, ਸਨਾਤਨੀ ਗਿਆਨ ਹੈ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ।
ਚਾਰੇ ਵੇਦ ਹੋਏ ਸਚਿਆਰ, ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਚ ਚਾਰੇ ਵੇਦ ਸਚਿਆਰ ਹੋਏ।
Thank you so much, Gurudev ji. And as you so beautifully said that the Khalsa was made to protect the Hindus. It was a Hindu army.
ਹਿੰਦੂਆਂ ਨੂੰ, ਪਰ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਹਿੰਦੂਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ। ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਨੇਕ ਪੁਰਸ਼ ਹੋਵੇ, ਚੰਗਾ ਹੋਵੇ, ਜੋ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਦੇਖੋ ਖਾਲਸੇ ਦੀ ਫੌਜ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਰ ਵਰਗ ਦੇ ਲੋਕ ਸੀ, ਮੁਸਲਮਾਨ ਵੀ ਸੀਗੇ, ਨਬੀ ਖਾਨ, ਗਨੀ ਖਾਨ, ਪੈਂਦੇ ਖਾਨ ਸਾਰੇ ਹੋਏ ਸਨ। ਜਿੱਥੇ ਬੰਦਾ ਸਿਆਣਾ ਹੋਵੇ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਬੰਦਾ ਨੇਕ ਹੋਵੇ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਹਰੇਕ, ਹੁਣ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਰਾਮਚੰਦਰ ਜੀ ਜਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਰਾਮ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਹਿੰਦੂਆਂ ਚ ਨਹੀਂ, ਉਹ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ। ਵਿਭੀਸ਼ਣ ਕੌਣ ਸੀਗਾ? ਹੁਣ ਵਿਭੀਸ਼ਣ ਨਾਲ ਲੈ ਆਉਣ ਕੇ ਮਗਰ ਰਾਜਵੀਰ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਦਾ ਲੈ ਕੇ, ਨਹੀਂ ਆਪ ਰਾਜ ਰੱਖਦਾ ਕਿ ਜੋ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ धर्म का मूल दया, पाप का मूल अभिमान है। इस तरह में जिथे दया होवे है ना, उथे वो हरेक दी रक्षा करते हैं, कल्ले एक कौम दी नहीं है।
Gurudev ji, you have so beautifully explained the interpretation of the Khanda Sahib. Can you just repeat that a bit? The curved swords are the Devi and the straight.
Okay, so the Khanda that we have today, what we call the Nishan Sahib Khanda, that appeared in the early 1900s only. Okay, it is based upon what the Nihangs will call Gargaj. Okay, so they have Gajgas like. So the Gajgal, it means Gaj is elephant, Gaj is Parlan. So in ancient times in Shaturudya, they say like Bhim of Mahabharata, Namabir Vidya Bhim was so powerful he can grapple elephants. So those warriors who could fight, like Vichitra Singh, who can take on and fight elephants, we know as Gajga. Gajnu is a higher symbol. Like. So the Gajga symbol, so if you look at this symbol here, like Trisul, let's go back in history. Like, so let's go back to Harappa, Mohenjo-daro. Okay, there's a famous seal from Harappa. It's the Pashupati seal. And then you have an individual sitting in a yogic posture on a manji, and at his feet is a little hirn, around him is Gande, Sher, Hathi, and so on. Now, he is known as the Pashupat. And Sablo Granthe mentioned this. Shiv Shiv Uchita Rachita Pashupat Sumke Rang Rachita. Shiv Shiv Uchita Pashupat ke Shiv Shiv Kate Pashupat Uchite ne Uhi Malo Shiv Rang Vich Sambhu Rang Vich. So there's reference to this. And you're going to realize in Gurbani, they don't actually spell everything out. So they may reference like a particular myth and all this, because the Sikhs at that time, especially the educated like Nirmalis, it's their job to spell it out. Okay? Unfortunately, a lot of modern day Sikhs, they don't understand that it may be a reference, but there's a whole tradition behind it, and they don't look into that. So the Pashupat, they wore horns on top of their heads. And you can see that. And when ancient hunters hunted, they wore those horns. They disguised themselves as animals to get close to animals. The same Pashupat symbol in time became a Trisul. So Trisul, on one hand, is a weapon to check tigers. So when tigers attack, they pounce and they slap you down, swat you down. The Trisul has a large catchment area, so the tiger can't swat. You can control not only just called tigers, but even elephants with it as well. Like. So the Trisul became a Trisul, and there's also there's different interconnecting myths. They say at the beginning of time, men can well like animals, but they came patis. And this is mentioned in the ancient texts as well. Like. There's no dharma, nothing. And then about the lightning, the Jyotirlingam fell in what we now know as Benares, although in Nepal they'll argue it was over there in where that's called Pashupati Mandir is. And from that Jyot, they attained fire. And with this fire, we became civilized. Okay, think like now, if you take away fire from our life, no light, nothing, no cooking, we're like animals again. So with fire, they cleared the jungles. With fire, they built the civilization. Hence the importance of the Havan in our culture.
Even the first line of the Rigveda says, Agni Veer Purate.
Yeah, Agni, everything begins with Agni. So the Khanda itself, like we look at forget the Khanda, the previous symbol is this half moon shape, or the Trisul shape, that is the flame. So the hearth. So the Yoni, the goddess, that's the hearth where the fire sits. And then the fire itself is the Jyotirlingam. So that's the Shiv Shakti come together. So this symbol here, the Trisul that we have, is a symbol of Shiv Shakti. Like. And even amongst the sadhus now, like we Sikhs say Sat Sri Akal. Agori sadhus in Benares say Sat Sri Akal. Okay? We are Nihangs. Amongst the Bragis and Sannyasis, there are Nihangs. We are Khalse. Amongst the Vaishnav in Hardwar, you have Vaishnav, there's Khalsa there as well. Like. Everything has, it's not like just come out of nowhere. Even though everybody knows about Singh, Rajputs are Singhs as well, there's little Singhs and so on. The whole, if you look at everything we have, there is nothing that is just completely, because nothing emerges in a vacuum. Like.
Yeah.
Nothing emerges in a vacuum. We all have parents, we have granddads, so the Khanda itself was adopted by the SGPC. They made from the ancient Gajga. But the ancient Gajga is a symbol of the Adnar Ishvara. So if you go to, especially in the Chola dynasty, that same Pashupati symbol of the horns became a Tsul, and then they put half male, half female. This only makes sense if you do Shatrudya, the warrior traditions. And so we have fighting forms which are half male, half female, so on. And because Shatrudya itself was banned by British Raj, Shatrudya can be mentioned, and we got left with the exhibition out like Gatka now. All that is gone. So as a consequence, all this the in-depth understanding is on. But the situation now is a beautiful Punjabi saying, "Bandar kiya jane adkar ka swad." Okay, they can't appreciate the subtleness and the depth of Sikhi. Sikhi is so deep, so profound, and the same depth is in the Vedas and the Shastras and our whole Sanatana culture. And because most people only observe it either with the Kopit light, they're limiting themselves, or they can't go to depth. And in the past, they had a whole Gurudev system. So ancients, when the British came in, two things were lost in Sikhi. There was a Sampradaya tradition of Gurudevs, like individuals who were taught by the Gurus, and they then taught the next person. So there's a good Shishya system going on. That came about, and and when the British came, and the Singh Sabhas made, they said, "Oh, Baba Khem Singh Bedi, Eda Detari Gurua, Nindo and Saro." But Baba Khem Singh Bedi was doing more for Sikhi in terms of he was giving Amritsar to Sehtaris, but giving Charnapur, he was giving Khanda Batapur. He was doing phenomenal, and there's a lot of gurus like this. That they had this whole Gurshish Parampara coming down. They did Ninde of that. And then amongst the Khalsa, now a Sikh who's not a Shatatari, he doesn't have to worship the Devi. But a Khanda, Shatatari has to worship the Devi, and the Devi is simple. You say Pratham Bhagoti Simrake. What is this Bhagoti like? If Bhagoti is just a sword, and the sword is forged metal with an edge, it makes no sense. He says Pratham Bhagoti Simrake. Why would you reflect and contemplate that before the greatest Guru, Jagat Guru Nanak Dev Ji? So the sword has to represent something. The sword represents the Adi Shakti. The Adi Shakti is the Shakti of the Shakt. The Shakti is Vaheguru, Brahma, and Brahm is Hukumran who gives Hukum, and the Hukumran's Shakti is in his Hukum. Hukum in the Sauko Bar Hukum. So when we say Pratham Bhagoti Simrake, as a Nahang in our current trend, we say Pratham Vaheguru, the Hukum Manake, Guru Nanak. Because Hukum is Lagu and Guru Nanak as well, like it's on everybody. So the Talwar itself, the 8-armed goddess you see in the mandars, Swasthpa Ishri Kalyan Rupe Kiye. There's a beautiful chapter in Sabdo Granth. It starts Nida Dora, Dangar Digar Ho Adak, Tum Nida Dare, Bar and Dotame, just Dankapare. Jaktar Ma Jalpa, Nitpata Gaye, Akhand Khand Chandika, Prabhati Utta, so Akhand Khand, not Khandanawai Chandi Ma Devi, Amatwille to get out. The modern Sikhs will get upset about it, but India and Singha, as if below Malo, Shatrudya on the Bello, a Devi on the Akhand Khan Chandika for Bhakti. On article Sikh and the Sadi Devi Horia, O Shakti, O Tapa Mali, that's not true. So he says, Swasthpa Ishri Kalanu Pekia, Chatapusanasi, not Kapseki. If we can, Sadavi, Bahiguru, Vishnu, Krishna, Horia. But then in Guru Granth Sahib, it refers to Chatrapuj. If yours is Nirguna Bahiguru, then Vishnu had a Horia, Krishna had a Horia. But then who's Chatrapuj? 4 arms. So I'm not. ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਖੁਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਮਤਲਬ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਤਰਾਜ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਪਰ ਸੋਚਣਾ ਹੀ ਕਰਦੇ think about this. We are Sanatan, and Nahans will tell you they're not only Sanatan, they're the best of the Sanatan. In the past, the Nahans, Nirmale Sadhu Nirmale taught Sanskrit. Adasi Babes, they also taught Sanskrit, and they went so they saw some of the Adasis, Nirmale, Seopantis, and Nihang Singh. The Char Sampata Gurudev. And they, because they're learning, so even now, if you go to Kankal, Hardwar, Rishikesh, you'll have Nirmale, and you have Nirmale and Adasi Babe. And they're very, very closely linked. When the Maha Kumbh Mela or Kumbh Mela comes, are the 4 Sampradas of India that lead the whole Kumbh Mela. The Sannyasis, Brayagis are first, because they are the oldest. And then you'll have the Adasis and Nirmales. They are still together. They're still nothing like this. And Nahangs will go there as well. And so the thing is, there's no question about it. If you look at it fairly and you look at all the evidence, it's a Sanatan Panth. The Khalsa is the purest. And the old Sikhs were they would say Hinduan de Guru sa next to me. But not because Arhankar, Guru hoda, on teacher ho gaya, master, professor bethe. They are qualified to be teachers in a university. And Jeko Malo Merwaka has no qualification in university. I can't be a teacher there. So the Nahangs, the Nirmale Dasi Sepantes, they were qualified to be the instructors of the Hindu world. And the Hindu text, the British write this, that the Nahangs are looked upon as the gurus of the Hindus.
Thank you so much, Gurudev ji. I think so beautifully you summed up, and you in one of your lectures you said that जो आगे बढ़ गए वो Sikh out of the Hindus, and जो उससे आगे बढ़ गए वो Nihang. All of you sitting together. Gurudev ji, you have summarized it beautifully. Professor Kapoor ji and Jagbir ji, your concluding remark.
I think it has been a great learning experience for me, a very great learning experience. The clarity with which Babaji has, given us the perspective. In fact, the whole issue, with which we thought was very concerned with us. That issue now, you have shown that this issue is such a marginal, and it springs from ignorance.
Yeah.
It springs from ignorance. And as I said, that we need not talk to the ignorant. We don't have. And the very idea that this continuity that he has, drawn, he has given us map from the ancient times to now, and with the culminating in the Nihanga and the Murat of Khalsa Swarupa. I am exalted, sir, and I go to you with full reverence. Thank you very much, sir.
प्रोफेसर जगबीर जी,
मैंने तो जैसे पहले शुरू में बात की थी कि मेरा क्योंकि संबंध शास्त्र से या शस्त्र से नहीं है, तो मैं ये समझता हूँ कि सनातन धर्म और सिक्खी में जो विश्व दृष्टिकोण की जो सांझ है, उसकी मैं एक मिसाल अपनी बात कंक्लूड करने की मैं कह सकता हूँ। गुरु नानक देव जी की एक छोटी सी रचना है, वो सृष्टि रचना के सिद्धांत को 4 लाइनों में समझा रहे हैं, और वो है कि साचे ते पवना भया, साचे ते पवना भया, पवने ते जल होए, जल ते तिर पवन साजिया, घट घट आप समोए। ये जो विचार है, ये सनातन जो संस्कृति का मूल विचार है, जो उपनिषदों में एक कथा कहानियों के रूप में मिलता है। और गुरुजी ने एक बहुत खूबसूरत रचना लिखी है, उन्होंने मारुसोले डायलॉग है ऋग्वेद की रचना नासदीय सूक्त के साथ, 2-2, 4-4 लाइनें उसकी मैं सुना के बाद में बात खत्म करूंगा। गुरु नानक देव जी कहते हैं कि सृष्टि रचना से पहले क्या था, और नासदीय सूक्त में भी यही बात कही गई है कि वो दुनिया की सबसे प्राचीनतम फिलोसॉफिकल क्रिएशन इज नासदीय सूक्त ऋग्वेद का। उनमें दोनों में जो सांझ है वो बहुत कमाल की है। गुरु नानक देव कहते हैं कि अरबद नरबद धुंधुकारा, खरबों अरबों साल पहले एक धुंध थी। अरबद नरबद धुंधुकारा, धरणी ना गगना हुक्म अपारा, ना दिन रैन ना चंद ना सूरज, सुन समाध लगाएंदा, पौन न पानी खानी न बाणी, ओपत कपत न आवन जानी, खंड पताल सप्त नहीं सागर, नदी न नीर बहाएंदा। और ऋषि क्या कहते हैं नासदी सूक्त में, ना सदा सीनो सदा सी तदानीम, नसीद रजो नो व्योमा परोजत, किम आवरीवा कुकस्य शर्मन नभा। इसका मैं हिंदी काव्य अनुवाद आपको रखना चाहता हूँ, क्योंकि मैं मूल संस्कृत से इस रचना का हिंदी और पंजाबी दोनों में अनुवाद किया है, तो मैं हिंदी में आपसे वो शेयर करता हूँ। जो नासदी सूक्त को जैसे मैंने काव्य अनुवाद के रूप में देखा है, बहुत खूबसूरत रचना है वो है कि सत्य नहीं था तब और ना ही सत्य था, सत्य नहीं था तब ना ही सत्य था, अंबर नहीं था ना ही पार फैला हुआ महा आकाश, छिपा क्या था और कहां किसने थामा था उसे, तब तो अगम अगाध जल भी कहां था, मृत्यु नहीं थी वहां, ना ही अमर जीवन। रात नहीं थी और ना दिन के प्रकाश का संकेत कोई, बिना हवा के सांस लेता हुआ स्वयंभू वह केवल आप था, एक था, उसके सिवा कोई दूसरा नहीं था। अनीतवातम स्वदया तद एकम। तो ये अंधेरा था, वहां अंधेरे से ढका हुआ था तो बस निराकार शून्य। तपस की महा ऊर्जा से उपजा हुआ पुंज, फिर पहले पहल कामना का हुआ उभार। डिजायर, जो सृष्टि रचना कैसे होती है, हमारा ऋषि इसकी संकल्पना करता है कि फिर पहले पहल कामना का हुआ उभार, मन का आदि अनादि बीज अंतर की सूझ वाले मुनि जनों ने समझ लिया था भली भांत रिश्ता क्या है, अस्तित्व का अनास्तित्व के साथ फैला दिया उन्होंने अपने सूत्र को महाशून्य के आर पार। ऊपरवार और नीचे भी धारणीय शक्तियां तत्पर थी वहां। ऊपर था निर्बाध बल, नीचे असीम ऊर्जा, एनर्जी की खेल है। लास्ट में कहते हैं, जानता है कौन असल में और कह सकता है कौन कहां से जन्मा और कैसे उत्पन्न हुआ ये संसार। देवताओं का भी बाद में हुआ प्रादुर्भाव, ना जाने रची गई कैसे ये रचना। कौन है सृष्टि का कर्ता, कर्ता या अकर्ता। अंतर्यामी कौन है ऊंचे अंबर वाली इस धरा का, वही जानता है जो है स्वामी इसका, और या फिर शायद वो भी नहीं जानता। तो मुझे लगा कि सनातन धर्म और सिक्खी विश्व दृष्टि की जो सांझ है वो गुरु नानक वाणी और ऋग्वेद की इन दोनों रचनाओं की टेक्स्ट के माध्यम से मैंने तो देखा है। तो मैं तो जब भी गुरबाणी पढ़ता हूँ मुझे शास्त्रों की बातें याद आती हैं, शास्त्र पढ़ता हूँ गुरबाणी जाती है। धन्यवाद।
आई सीक योर परमिशन। मेरे मन में एक प्रश्न था जो मैं चाहता था कि आप, जिज्ञासा है, प्रश्न नहीं है, मेरी जिज्ञासा मैं आपसे कि एक वर्ग है जो आजकल ये बातें ज्यादा करता है अडवाद की, एक वर्ग है जो ज्यादा मासिस हैं या लोग हैं, वो वर्ग वोकल है, वो वोकल। पर मैं केवल सोचता हूँ कि ये जो आपने नाम लिए जैसे उदासीन हैं, उदासी हैं, निर्मले हैं, निरंकारी हैं, नामधारी हैं, इन ये चर्चा में क्यों नहीं आते, इनके बारे में क्यों नहीं कुछ भी आवाज ही नहीं आती, निहंग है। अब जैसे इन्होंने बल्कि पॉलिसी में इन लोगों को मार्जिनलाइज कर रखा है, अलग कर रखा है। तो ये क्या कारण है? एक ही गल है, सिर्फ अकाली अजकल वाले, असली वाली अकाली नहीं, जेडे अजकल वाले है उन्हां दी गल हुंदी बस, एज इफ दे रिप्रेजेंट द एंटायर सिख कम्युनिटी।
Okay. So in Gurbani, it just says simple. What is Sikhi altogether? If you sum up Sikhi, like if you sum up what Sikhi is, if you sum up the whole spiritual tradition in all of India, like what's the summation of it all? Nanak de kar keval naam. There's nothing but naam. Okay, naam. So the reflection, the contemplation of the imprint. If you go to any sampradaya in India, when you go to like the Vaishnav sampradaya, so ek man hoye pajo narayan. There's a Ratnam in Sabdogra that most Sikhs are not even aware of. And when Guru Nanak speaks of this, when Guru Gobind Singh speaks of this, it leaves Sikhs completely astounded that this exists. So this will tell you what the ancient Sikh, this is what Guru Gobind Singh, he had Muslims, few of them, like Sufi song, and many of those Muslims were in fact individuals who have been forced to convert from Hinduism, or have been cursed through paying Zazia and so on. And the reason why Arjan Dev was so-called martyred by the Muslim Mughals was because he's bringing a lot of them back into the Sanatan faith through Sikhi and so on. But you say, what kind of rat did Guru Gobind Singh? I mean, you have by Desa Singh Ratnama, by Daya Singh Ratnama, you have by Nana Ratnama. Is there a Ratnama that Guru Gobind Singh gave, which can shine light on this Sanatan question and so on? I'll give you this, and then I'll tell you exactly why modern day Sikhs are not speaking up. So this is from Savlo Granth, and this is the only Ratnama in the Khada that we actually follow. It says, this is the whole summation. Ut prabhate karo ishnana. Get up in the morning, amatwale utke naam japo, pad pankaj mein leena. So focus your mind on lotus feet. Jata shak dan pukhe ko kahun. ਨਿਮਕ ਰੰਗ ਪੀਣਾ। So according to capacity, ਭੁੱਖਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਦਾਨ ਕਰੋ। Give to the poor. Give knowledge. So ਦਾਨ can be forms of ਕੱਪੜੇ, can be forms of food, it can be forms of ਗਿਆਨ। ਕ੍ਰੋਧ ਨਿਵਾਰ। Okay, you got to get rid of ਕ੍ਰੋਧ। ਕ੍ਰੋਧ ਨਿਵਾਰ, ਦਇਆ ਮਨ ਲਾਵੋ, ਹਿੰਸਾ ਦੁਰਮਤ ਤਿਆਗੋ। So get rid of ਕ੍ਰੋਧ, anger, adopt compassion, daya man lavo, hinsa, violence and evil thinking. When I teach after that, I tell you, I teach the most efficient way of killing with weapons, firearms, and all that. But I'm not violent. They'll tell you that. एक मन होए भजो नारायण। नारायण जो मर्द थोड़े अंदर है, नारायण खिमा तमरागो, love the dharma of forgiveness. Now this next bit is where it's going to be interesting from the Sanatan perspective. तीर्थ बर्त नेम सुच क्रिया सील संतोख अचारो. So go do तीर्थ, do birth, do name, do such kriya, be gentle, be contentful, ये आचरण। पूजा तिलक, पूजा करो, तिलक करो, होम करो, पूजा तिलक होम ज्ञात्री। So ज्ञात्री मंत्र पढ़े, say we nahang, अहीं ज्ञात्री मंत्र नहीं पढ़ते।
In fact, Gurudev, I've read that Bhagat Singh ji used to recite the Gayatri mantra every month.
साडे दासी भरा, निर्मल भरा, उस गायत्री पढ़ते। But we nahang don't, because साडे ancient we worship the Devi, see। पूजा तिलक, ਨਿਹੰਗ ਸਿੰਘ ਤਿਲਕ ਲਾਉਂਦੇ, ਅਸੀਂ ਖੂਨ ਦਾ ਤਿਲਕ ਲਾਉਂਦੇ, ਉਹ ਚੰਦਨ ਲਾਉਂਦੇ, ਪੂਜਾ ਕਰਦੇ। ਪੂਜਾ ਤਿਲਕ ਹੋਮ ਗਿਆਤਰੀ, ਸੰਧਿਆ ਤਪੰਤਾਰ। ਦੇਵਤੇ ਦੀ ਪੂਜਾ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਉੱਥੇ 10 ਨਿਰਮਲ ਵਿੱਚ। ਗੁਰੂ ਠਾਕਰ, ਗੁਰੂ ਨੂੰ, ਆਪਣੇ ਠਾਕੁਰ ਨੂੰ, ਪਿਤਾ ਮਾਤ ਬੰਜਨ, ਜੋ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਰਿਸ਼ਤੇਦਾਰ ਨੇ, ਮਿੱਤਰ ਨੇ, ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਿਤਾ ਮਾਤਾ ਨੇ ਮਿਸ਼ਤ ਭਜਨ ਪਲਾਖੋ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮਿੱਠੇ ਬੋਲੋ। ਸਭ ਕੀ ਰੇਨ ਹੋਏ ਰਹੇ ਪੰਖੇਰੋ, ਕਿ ਨਿਮਰਤਾ ਚ ਰਹੋ ਕਿਦਾਂ ਸਿਰ ਚ ਆਗੇ ਨਾ ਰੇਨ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਮਿੱਟੇ ਆਗੂ। ਮੰਦਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਪਾਖੋ, ਕਿਹਨੂੰ ਮੰਦਾ ਨਾ ਕਹੋ। इष्ट देव, whatever your इष्ट देव is, विष्णु होवे, राम हो, जो भी हो इष्ट होवे, इष्ट देव, रिखी पितर, रिखी ऋषि मुनियां नु, अपने पितरां नु, ancestors, ब्राह्मण, English गाओ, like ladies, through इष्ट देव, your personal deities, to your ancient sages, to your ancient ancestors, Brahmins, गाओ, cows, abhigat, sadhus, इन्हां नु मन्नो किदां, celebrate them, acknowledge them, and then he goes there. Geet hast meru tranan mein. From the mountain, from the geet, from the ant to the mountain, from the ant to the elephant, from the mountain meru to the blade of grass. Sab mein ranjan jano. Sat roop atam banasi, the indestructible true form, the true atma. Brahm sat pachano. Recognize that Brahm in all things. Sab mein like everywhere there's Ram, everything open. एक ब्रह्म सो कट कट पूर्ण आदि भगवान। So the one Brahm that is in every heart and every being, वही हैगा भगवान। And the thing is, this is what Guru Nanak is saying, कि नानक दे घर केवल नाम। And when you forget this, you know, this is the code of conduct laid down by Guru Gobind Singh, Guru Gobind Singh Maharaj, Sadhu Granth Sahib. Then when you forget this, कि Guru Nanak दे घर केवल नाम, there's only naam. This is what naam is. The Sikhi is a whole life is spiritual way path. When you go off the spiritual path, and many times, okay, I go to England, I got cousins. My cousin is a complete monagona, doesn't get naam jap, nothing like this, but he'll argue for Khalistan to the very end, like. All that kuch nahi hai. They are almost trying to make up for what they lack. In Sikhi, we have a pra mera keda. He's still there, he's young. So no mata jo ki samay. The thing is, Naam Jap. That's the key thing. And when you leave Naam Jap, when you go off the track of Naam Jap, you go off that spiritual discipline, then you will get all this pumble pusa, you get all that confusion, you get all this karahe marg and so on. Then you lose track of everything. And then in this world is, so Naam Jap is what anchors us to reality. And the reality, what do you anchor us? Reality is Brahma-like. And when we are no longer anchored to Brahman, we can't recognize that sab kat ke ek Brahm sab kat puran ad purpurana. When we don't recognize that, don't see that, then you'll have arguments of this, you know, Kastani, Hindustani, this, and whatever. So if you say, why are they doing all this? Oh, naam nahi japde.
Gurudev ji, one last question is that I've heard that Sikhism emerged because there was this lot of problems with the Hindu faith, casteism, ये वो उसको ठीक करने के लिए reformist था Sikhi. That's what I've heard. So
no, in our tradition we don't see that women. Okay, obviously everything can get problems. We can go sick. I can be healthy now and tomorrow I'll be sick and so on. So there are issues in the world, but that was not the case. Guru Nanak came, because that's the revolutionist thing. That people who believe that Sikh is a revelation, they'll say like it's called, there was a near everywhere like. So take that took up by Gadaji like, Mitti to Guru Nanak Pragat Hoye. That's not the case though. It's in the scheme of Brahm like. Brahm, by his very nature, is infinite. And he's ever renewing him. Also, that Navakal he's ever renewing himself. And there are so many ways that Brahm, almost is called, is reaching out to you. If you take one step towards Brahm, he takes 1,000 steps towards you. And as a consequence, so Sikhi is not that there's Nera and Guru Nanak came to... No. Guru Nanak happened in the scheme of things. So the old Babi, like Magadev, Babinder Singh, he would say, in Satjuk, there's a pair of Vasudev, then Treta is Ram, and Dwapar is Krishna, and Ite Pera ya Guru Nanak there. And every yug, we just pair of Guru Nanak, come again and again, so on, it's infinite. Because our belief is cyclic, and so on. Now, Guru Nanak's Pera is not for everybody. Like. There are other gurus as well. Like if you look, and this is the modern Sikhs have an issue with. They are like Christian thinking. They're saying that Jesus Christ is the only God, the only way to salvation is through Jesus, and that's the only one. No. There are numerous individuals who are enlightened in the world at any given time. Wise, Gyanis, and all. And obviously, Murkha Jara, but we know that there are the odd,
the large majority.
Large majority is that way there. But they always exist like. And Guru Nanak was such as well like.
Yes.
So Guru Nanak is for us Sikhs.
That's a beautiful experience. So that Brahm is ever renewing itself.
Yeah, Brahm is ever renewing. It's not renewing, it's ever renewing. Like Brahm is radiant, it's everywhere all the time. Like. So this idea that suddenly it all came dark and there's no Brahm anywhere, that's not true. Like. Guru Nanak, Brahm was always there. Brahm is always there. If you look at it, it's like this. It's like if the sun is shining, and but I close my eyes, I don't see it. If my panda is raining, chim chim barse, but my panda mudda mar liya, I'm not collecting any amrit like. So you got to open your eyes, open your kapat, your panda, study Vani, study Bani, study the Veds, study Shastra, wherever you can, get this Brahm Gyan. So, okay, nowadays they say like Agya Preka Gita, and then they talk about Guru Granthi Mani or Paragunde. I will tell you some contrast. The old Nihangs, they love and they die for Guru Granth Sahib and Dasam and Sabdogan. But their belief is, like Magdev said, Gurbani speaks of Brahm, the infinite. And what is infinite? It cannot be confined to the finite. Okay? So Guru Granth Sahib is like it's a pure Sarovar of Brahm Gyan. It's the easiest way, like. But Brahm is everywhere. In every hriday, every heart, everywhere. And you can see Brahm in all things. You can see Brahm not just in scriptures, but even in actions of a child, whatever, so on, in the birds, in the trees. Brahm, like he says here, Ek Brahm, Sab Kat Kat Puran. So when you limit yourself, that's it. And then not only limit yourself, now they'll go to a Gurdwara and they'll sit down. I've seen this. And they will ask people, like the chapter being read, and then you say, when they leave the Darbar, you just ask them, what chapter did you hear them? No, they haven't got a clue because their brain was somewhere else. Like. It's like that Maulavi who was thinking about his horse and so on, Guru Nanak they confronted him. So the thing is, you've got to focus on it and study Gurbani. You've got to basically, you've got to eat it, then digest it. Otherwise, if you don't digest, the food's not good. So the issue with modern day Sikhi is, and many Hindus as well, like many Muslims as well, I would say many other people in the world, they do not reflect deeply. If they do reflect deeply, they will understand that anywhere there is Abhiman, Ankar, if there is there is hate, Nafrat, Jablak ko bari meet, Nablak, Nehchal nahi cheat.
Yeah.
So if the philosophy of these Khalistanis, and I know you don't want to mention it, but they're saying, if their philosophy was saying not to hate, then I would say, okay, let's listen to you guys. But their first premise is you've got to hate someone, and then the second premise, you've got to destroy something. They want to destroy it. Sikhi builds, and it sheds all hatred. Na ko bari, na ko bagana, hum sagal sang meet kiya. We're friends with everybody. Okay. Like I said, in society, criminals, we let low tie carol, murkh bande, we just don't engage with them. The ones who are Kattarpanthis and fanatical, who only have one understanding and they won't dare look at others, they're wherever you are, stay there. So we're gonna sanj pauni kata, yo siane bande, yo nek bande, yo change bande. And I'm pretty sure even now in this day, I travel all the world. Like I stay a month in one country, then another month in another. In most places I go to, I always come across good people. Whereas America, Canada, Europe, wherever I go, the majority of the world is good. But sometimes, khali pande, and so these empty vessels, they make too much noise, and we don't hear the good people. But the good people do exist, and we should have faith in that. Aapta pala, they say in the Khada, Aapta pala is in Sarbatta pala.
Sarbatta pala. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Gurudev ji. And the last thing I want to ask, that the Gurudwaras, the parampara of Gurudwara started quite late. They were all temples first, with Vishnu ji and all the idols there, which were removed and then converted to Gurudwaras. So, do Sikhs bow down to the Hindu idols and gods, Vishnu, etc.? I mean, that is one question that is...
Okay, so let's have a look. So, Sikhi is a school of thought which is, we worship the Nirguna Vaheguru. Okay? And that Nirguna Vaheguru is not servant form like. So, even ancient Hangs, like in my Khada, I'll get a place in Italy, like, we do Prakash of Shastras, and we look upon the Shastras away from Devi, and we do keep an image of the Devi, like, we have a Murti of Devi. But we don't sanctify Devi, so we don't worship idols. Ko Batan, ko Pujita Pas, ko Mirtan, ko Pujita. So in that line, Sikhs can take that and they say, look, the Guru said, Ko Batan, ko Pujita Pas, ko Mirtan, ko Pujita. Pur Kriya, Ujjur subject. So it's Pur Kriya, it's false. But the Guru is saying, so let's look at this. A Murti. Murtis are not even images, they're iconic representations. They represent something. Every image in our Khada, we have the image of Jagdambe, and every aspect is iconographic. So iconography, everything represents something. Doesn't mean it's like reading words. Now, if you don't understand what the Devi represents, the image it represents, and then you just buy into it, it's meaningless. That is what we're talking about. That is wrong. But if you understand what it is, so in the ancient Khalsa of old, generally, there's a guy called Wilson, he writes, the Nahang generally worship Durga by piling a lot of weapons together. But if the old Murti of Durga exists, very old, ancient, respected, they will bow before it. Now, we bow to these Murtis and images and so on, but the Nahang is also, Magadev said, if you look at like the word Mandir. Okay, this is Nahang. So Nahangs are not really there. They say Mande Andar. So Mandir, they translate Mande Andar. So Shiva represents Bhau Bhakti. Okay, like love and devotion. So I put the gun. So each Devta represents a gun, a virtue. Shiva is Bhau Bhakti. So in my heart, I keep Bhau Bhakti. Vishnu is Saveta, Savacha, culture, and so on. So I keep that culture in there. And each devta they convert to a god, and उनका सत्कार जो है अदब है वो अपने हृदय में रखते हैं क्योंकि खालसा भी देवता जो हैं. So in that sense, when we recognize, if I see an image of Ganesh, I see an image of Vishnu and so on, I know exactly what it represents. So I will bow to that understanding. That's what it represents. So in that context, they do have it. But because they're Nirguna worshippers, they do not do Artiyan and all that there. But they, at the same time, as Guru Gobind Singh explained to Aurangzeb, that you think you can destroy all these butts, and then the Hindu faith will vanish. He says, that's not true. For every Buddha you destroy, this is not called Partyan Sevadas. Every idol you destroy, those who worship them, they go home and make one out of clay. They make one out of atta. You are creating of idols. The only true idol, says Guru Gobind Singh, is a Persian couplet, is ego. Because everybody worships their own ego, like कि मैं ही सब तो बड़ा किदा. नामे होमे विच वैर है वसे ना एक थाव. Between Naam, so Naam has, we only have one enemy, Name Home which where here. Between Naam and Home, ego, there is enmity. And they cannot stay and exist in one place. So the only true idol is ego, nothing else. So you're going to destroy that. That's the Buddha prasti, you want to ego. Otherwise, yes, I go. So I go to mandirs, sometimes I go to Sufi jagas as well. I go where there's knowledge, where there's wisdom. As a Sikh, I can do namaskar and so on. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, do I do there's 3 types of namaskar. If they do Rabde Padeva, that's offensive. Like, that's not what it is. If I just do this, namaskar, that means I respect. I respect you. If I go to a mandir, I will respect. If I drop to my knee and do Virasana and do Prakash Mashastra and do that, that means I do full namaskar. So with the Devi, he says, Nida Dora, Dangar Degan Ho Adak. Came about Menopasuaga Murk Bandagada, Tum Ho Nida Dare, Tum Dagno Durka Noria, Devi Kada. Bar and Dolt them. Came Metunu Mormorke, Bar and Doltka, not just Matatikna, I prostrate myself for you. So in the past, it's pretty common for Sikhs when they went to Nagpur to go on to Naina Devi as well. There's even a Brahmin family there. They have a patra, we say, Tatiya Sada Prot hai, jo sade hain, inanu mannan. So when you go there, there's a Brahmin family there, and they show this patra in Tamba. They show this, then you give them 100 rupees or whatever you want to give them. So the ancient saints, they went. So Vishwanath Mandir was given gold by Maharajit Singh. Many mandirs were basically built by Sikh Sardars and so on. And they kept mandirs and they kept murtiyan and they did that. So yes, there is Adva and there is Satkar. And then some of the Sikh kings, main Sikh kings, who actually married into Rajput families and so on. So their wives, so if you go to Kila Mubarak, there's a whole mandir upstairs which murtiyan, Shivling and all the rest of it, Shaligram, belong to the Rani of Patia. And the Brahmin every day comes and worships there. So yes, there is that habit. And there is Satkar, so. Like I call Avtar Singh here, he made it clear. He says, we are not like Muslims, and we're not like Christians. We don't destroy idols. Okay, we may not worship idols ourselves, but we do respect them.
And so all the Nirakar Brahma sects, Hindu sects also, they don't worship idols.
Yeah, because
many Hindu sects also.
They both. This you can realize in the Hindu world. There's the Nirguna schools, the Nirikar ones, like the Kabir Panthis and so on, and there's the Sarguna worship. But there has never been a conflict like
no conflict.
They know if there's an image and so on, they know what it represents. And what it represents is something sacred like. So it's a consequence. That's why in Guru Granth Sahib, if Guru Arjan Dev was hostile to images, he wouldn't have defined Vaheguru as Chitrapuj. Nobody could be like. That's 4 arms like. And if you go to Sikh fresco art, so they destroyed a lot of it now. But if you go to Baba Tal, other places, so on, and not everywhere in the old days, I mean, they would always have representation of Vaheguru as 4-armed Vishnu.
There is also that beautiful line that idea as idea and idea as idol. There are both ways of representation.
Thank you so much, Gurudev Ji, Professor Jagveer Singh Ji, and Professor Kapoor Singh Ji. I think that's a beautiful wrap to this whole panel discussion. And I think we've covered everything. There's nothing left to be covered. If anybody has any questions, we can take 1 or 2 questions. I have just one question with respect to the present situation and not really the theological background of Sikhism. And that is concerning the Rahat Maryada. Now, one of the main bases on which the separation was forged between Sikhs and Hindus was the invalidation of the Puratan Maryada and constructing a new Maryada, although it was a compilation.
But a whole lot of things, particularly the rules of association, which is very typical to Hindu Dharma, and that is actually the social basis in which the spiritual tradition is embedded. So that was discarded in favor of the new Maryada, and which in fact does away with all of these things. For instance, not just the rules of association, where to eat, what should be served, and all that, which is exactly what was there. If one reads the Puratan Maryada, it is exactly similar to the Hindu this thing. It was basically just standardizing the rules of association in a society. But that has been discarded, and the new Maryada, I mean, because it attempted to take that line about casteism being done away with, so that discards all those rules of association. So what is applicable now is this new Maryada. So where do you see, I mean, even if you have a very deep theological foundation in Hindu religion and the philosophical ideas of Hinduism, fact remains the communities have been effectively, politically, constitutionally separated. So where do you see a solution? Because no matter how many, they'll say the old Maryada was interpolated, it was written by Brahmins and such stuff. The question arises, why did the Guru get it written by Brahmins?
No, I don't think that separation is as you suggest, because myself and Jagbir ji, we travel all over Punjab and we talk to large audiences, and I think we are received very well and listened to very respectfully. It's more apparent, it's a small section which is very vocal, of course, and it is a political and it is also funded, and there is a constructed problem of identity, अस्मिता. वो एक constructed problem है. वो इसलिए है कि जो उनकी अपनी असली पहचान है वो जानते नहीं. इसी अगर असली पहचान पहचानेगी तो मैं in Punjab, I belong to Amritsar, I was born there, I studied in Khalsa College, I came to Delhi in 58 and I am here, but we keep going back to Punjab, off and on, and in small places like Phagwara and other places. Nowhere you feel, and I will speak very openly. I mean, we don't gloss over things. We openly pose the questions and discuss. Nowhere, I think I should put it the other way. Everywhere we were treated with great respect and listened to.
You got to realize the Red in the ancient days was two types, which they don't make a distinction. So this is where it goes wrong. Like there's Pramathik, spiritual Red. So at the spiritual level, everybody is equal. Like our Atma is same. Like doesn't matter where we are. Like even not just with human beings, even with animals and plants and trees and so on. So Pramathik is same. So at the Pramathik level, is same. The issues is when we come to Vivaharik, everyday conduct. In the past, the life cycle rituals that existed for marriage, for birth and all this, depended on your particular caste. So judged in a particular way, the Brahmins, the Khatris, and that's common throughout India and so on. So when the Singh Sabhas emerged, 1878 onwards, and then really by early 1900s, they began to think, in order for us to be separate from the Hindu world, we need to construct our own life cycles and so on. So even the Nandakar marriage that you have now, really, it's not historical at all. Like there's a version amongst the Nirankaris early on by 1850, something like that. But if you read Sui Prakash's ancient texts, all the Sikh gurus, they had Vidhi Vyas as a tradition. Like so, there are peculiar what's called Vivaharik customs to every Jat, Bradari, and so on. So this Rayat that you're talking about now, the SGPC, that only was formulated even latest by 1950s and so on. It's ongoing even now, like, and they made it simple, like, so they just like Christianity. I mean, Avtar Singh Bahiriya actually addresses this. He says it's not simple as I believe in Jesus Christ and that's it. I am now a Christian. It doesn't work like that. In Sikhi, to have faith in Guru Nanak and Guru Gobind Singh, fine, you have faith in Guru Nanak. But that's not the key thing. The key thing is to abide by their instruction. So as the Guru said, this is the Maryada, this is how you do Nam Jap. This is your Rani, like. So you got to live Gurmat. You cannot just say, I have faith in Gurmat, it doesn't work like that. So this modern Red, it is there, And so you have Amritdhari Sikhs in particular, many of them, will quote it and say, this is what the Ratnama says. But don't forget, Adasis, Nerule, Panthis, and all this, they did not participate in that Rat. So Nahangs we have our own Rat, and so on. And even within the Nahangs, you find there's differences. So I'm a Sanatani Nahang. Others are not Sanatanis, happen their own. And even amongst, if you listen to Ardas, Nanak Sari Ardas is slightly different from SGPC Ardas, from Burda Ardas. So by just listening to Ardas, you can say it's slightly Maryada different. Like. So, but this, they and believe that we must, it's like, it's Panjungliyan. You can't pull them, all these digits to make them one. Oh, hat khandam ho jayega. It'll be no good. Like, a degree of divergence can happen. So Sikhs who live in the UK, they have been interacting with the Western world there, so their Maryada is slightly altered. Ones in America, they have peculiar situations. So the Baharik Rat is never one. And if you try to make it one, it'll never happen. Like, and it evolves, it changes, and so on. Even the Ratnamas we have, they are normative, they are forming. If you look at each Ratnama, they are normative. Sometimes they contradict each other as well. Like. And so the Ratnamas are not absolute either. Like. Okay, but the Paramatic Rat, which is universal, which is spiritual, that is eternal. Like. All the rest is, they can change and alter and so on. So again, the whole thing about separating Hindus from Sikhs, okay, is born out of British Raj politics and so on, and decided to divide and rule. Like, and then in many cases, the Indians themselves now carry on this forward. Like. So all the bad habits of British Raj, somehow the Indians want to keep alive. So the Indians are making sure that the British Raj even will carry on. So we should, the idea is like, put these differences aside. So Manski Jat Pachano, like, okay, respect each other, learn from what is good from each other, and what is negative in each other, just discard. Like, it's simple as that. So Nanak the Karke will know. So the Rat, like Professor Saab said, like in the villages, amongst Hindus and Sikhs is pyar like. And the Khalistani movement, I was there in Punjab when the Khalistani was there. It failed, not because the Khalistanis were useless or most of the security was so effective. It was because the Punjabi people, the Hindus, the Sikhs and all that, unhone naate siye, pyar siga. And they refused to be consumed by hatred. And that's because of that bond, it survived.
So, सिखी बोला जाए, चाहे खालसापंथ बोला जाए, चाहे नानकपंथी बोला जाए, उन सब के एक अलग अलग नीश हैं. एक इनका ऐतिहासिक महत्व, हिस्टोरिकल पर्सपेक्टिव है, एक इनका राजनीतिक पर्सपेक्टिव है, जो कि मुगलों से और गुरु गोविंद सिंह जी के समय में कुछ एक दिशा थी, और एक इनका स्पिरिचुअल है, जो कुछ भी है. फिर गोविंद सिंह जी के बाद बंदा बैरागी, एंड देन देयर वाज दिस हाइटस, फिर रणजीत सिंह जी आए, एंड देन अंग्रेजों का दौर आया, और फिर अब आधुनिक सिखिज्म आ गया. सब में अलग अलग प्रकार से दिशा और दशा है सिखिज्म की, चाहे खालसापंथ की बोलें. विचित्र नाटक में पढ़ो तो खुल्लम खुल्ला कई चीजें ऐसी लिखी हैं कि अगर एज ए हिंदू मैं वो पढ़ता हूँ तो मुझे वो अच्छा नहीं लगता है. हालांकि लोग बोलेंगे विचित्र नाटक तो बड़ा हिंदू धर्म के पक्ष में, बट लोगों को पढ़ना चाहिए क्या है उसमें, क्या नहीं है. राम अवतार में लिखते हैं, सब कुछ डिटेल में लिखा, लास्ट में लिखा कि भाई मैं इन सबको नहीं मानता हूँ, ये भी लिखा गया है. उसका ऐतिहासिक पक्ष भी है, जैसे युद्ध हुए हिमाचल में, गढ़वाल में, क्यों हुए लोगों को पता है, नहीं पता है, पता रहना चाहिए. फिर जो कुछ भी हुआ, आनंदपुर, चमकौर, नदौन, तो ये सब, जब तक ये सब चीजें पूरे समग्र रूप से हम नहीं देखते हैं, कैसे गुरु गोविंद सिंह जी के युद्ध हुए, मुक्तसर आए, दमदमा साहब आए, नांदेड़ गए, आगरा आए, मुगल सेना के साथ उनका क्या रिलेशनशिप था ना, क्योंकि ये औरंगजेब के मासिर में भी लिखा हुआ है, जो उनके गुर शोभा है उसमें भी मेंशन्ड है सेनापति के, कि उनकी संधि थी औरंगजेब के साथ, उसके साथ वो राजपूतों के साथ उनके युद्ध भी हुए हैं अजमेर में, चित्तौड़ में. और फिर वो मनसबदारी का भी एक सिस्टम है, जो कई लोग उसको जानते हैं या नहीं जानते हैं, लेकिन एक मनसबदारी का भी बहादुर शाह से जो उनकी संधि हुई थी। तो समग्र रूप से जब ये देखा जाता है तो मैं ये पाता हूँ कि ये एक राजनीतिक मूवमेंट है। हम इसको ईश्वरीय विधा क्यों बनाते हैं? हालांकि सिख ग्रंथों में उनको ईश्वर के रूप में, जैसे गुरुजी ने स्वयं कहा है कि वो नानक तब थे, किसी ने उनको जनक भी कहा है, जनक का भी रूप कहा है कि जनक थे त्रेता में और तो निमि के वंशज हैं। फिर
you are basically saying it's a political movement while giving it a
yes,
religious
it has lots of gray spaces.
Okay.
So rather than deification, we have to see it as a political movement.
So nothing in life is black and white. Nothing is simple and so on. So yes, the Gurus interacted with the Mughals. So right from the beginning, Guru Nanak, when Babur came, there's a tradition that Babur actually met Guru Nanak Dev Ji.
Yes.
And Guru Nanak Dev basically, he wanted Ashirwad to rule India. And Guru Nanak said, if you rule, then you must rule justly, both for Hindus and Muslims and so on. And then the time that you break this pledge to rule justly, then my Panth will tear you down. So that's mentioned in Panth Prakash and such and so on. Later on, even in Guru Arjan Dev's times and so on, Saim Mia Mir and so on. Saim Mia Mir, like, he laid the foundation of the Golden Temple and so on. He was a guru to the Mughals at that time as well. And even at the time of Shahidi of Arjan Dev, there were many Mughals, including Saim Mia Mir, who wanted to do what's called to save Guru Arjan Dev and so on. And then Guru Gobind Singh also had a dialogue with Bahadur Shah. So when he came into Punjab, so the first individuals who fought against the Guru were actually the Hill Rajas. And they're Hindus like, but the Hill Rajas, you would think of them as political entities. They're fighting each other all the time as well. Like.
We were the ones.
Yeah, Raja Ruja, they're fighting each other. And then when Bahadur Shah came, when Prince, he was a prince at that time, came, he showed deference to Guru Gobind Singh because one of his teachers in Sikh tradition says was by Nandlal Goa. And Bahadur Shah was more so inclined towards spirituality, and he spared Guru Nanak. And Guru Nanak, in Bajitra Nanak, yes, Guru Gobind Singh, Babar Ke, and Nanak De, and so on. So life is never black and white. It's always this like we have a BJP government now. Yet when King Fahd died in Saudi Arabia, they had a day's holiday. Recently, the Queen died in England, and I think they lowered their flags to half-mast and so on. So it's very simple to have a narrative which is based on assumptions and simplicity and so on. But the true truth of Gurbani, like in Guru Granth Sahib, in Bajitra Natak, like, yes, when you say that at the end, like, Paenge jab se tumre koi aaktari na ke Ram Rahim Paran kare hame ke kramana Sri Aspan Kirpala. So at the end, the word is Sri Aspan. It's the goddess he's worshipping, not Ram, it's goddess. Because Dasam Granth is mainly a Yudh Granth. And he says in there, Agar Vashna Huna Chitme, Taram Yudh Ka Chao. And in Sikhain Patbhata's text, he wants the Hindus to regain that status, what they had in Raghubans and Ramchandras. He wants, and there's a word in there, there's a Varn Ashram Ka Yudh. They want to erase them so they attain Shatra. But there, and over to the Mughals, Hindu Dharma Jage, Turuk Danta Pajje. And so on. But the Guru was not passe against every Muslim. Okay, he did not indiscriminately just kill Muslims on. In Guru Granth Sahib Muslims. And he himself, there's even a retna for Muslims called Sukhmana, written in Hajur Sahib as well. Like, life is complex, and the Gurus are complex, and we cannot just rely on...
Times were very complex.
Yeah,
times are very complex.
Yeah. So you got to look into all that. And so, yes, on one hand, it is political. Yes, it is political. But there's it is spiritual as well. Spirituality is the most important thing. But there's a political element to it. Because if the Gurus did not step into the arena of politics and so on, that's a famous, I remember this, Bulle Shah, Baat humko jab ki, baat humko tab ki, agar Guru Gobind Singh na hote, sunat hoti sabko. And Gurudev Bahadur is still remembered as Hind ki chadar and so on as well. Like. Now, you say, did the Sikhs fight only Muslims? No. They fought Rajputs. And then later on in the Misl period, they fought each other as well. Like. And they still do that nowadays as well. So life is complex. It's not simple, like. But there's always a strand of truth. If there's Brahma, there's a strand of truth. Like. So you can do the arithmetic. A lot of people don't like the headache of doing arithmetic, looking at truth and all this. They want a simple answer, like black and white. And life is never black and white.
Thank you so much, Guruji. And I think all these questions of the relevance of Sikhi in today's times, when we are not in those warrior times, I think just the way Jainis and Buddhas have their own belief system, the Sikhis also, that's in the Vedic Sanatani philosophy, they all exist and they all have relevance and they all contribute. I think that's so beautiful to understand all the relevance of these funds.
And it's like 70 years that RSS has been trying to bridge the gap between Sikhs and Hindus. My question is just one simple. Why does the BJP always get 3 or 4 seats from Punjab? It casts a doubt about who that ultimate entity was and whether that ultimate entity knew that he was creating himself. Does the Sikh community or does Sikhism believe in the finality of the Akal Purukh, that there is only one Akal Purush? I just wanted to ask this so that it is in consonance with what he said.
Okay, let me share this. Okay, so the word is Sargun. Okay, and when Nirgun Vaheguru goes into deep samadhi, where there's no consciousness of self or other, then the existent becomes non-existent. And when from deep samadhi emerges, then that what was non-existent becomes existence. Like, so we're talking about something that's beyond, which is a gam and a gochar, beyond our senses, our minds, and so on. The Vedas, that particular book, I've read it many times as well, is so wonderful that they have such an open mind, that they're willing to concede this, and so on. So Brahman, like Brahm, if you go to, it's like in what's called Mandukya Upanishad, they speak about the states of what's called wake, sleep, dream sleep, deep sleep, and then the state with no consciousness of self and so on. When Brahm becomes Savikalp Samadhi, completely immersed in himself, like, or herself, I don't know how you want to define it, then there's no consciousness of this or that or other or that. At that moment, the existent becomes the non-existent and so on. And then that's the point that where our mind, our intellect, what we say in Punjabi, in Sanskrit, agam agochar. It's just at that point you become a gunga. It's like a gunga trying to explain the taste of sugar, like the Vedas says and so on. So that is the question. That's what there is. So the Vedas are talking about this. Guru Nanak will speak about this. So this. One of the great things about India is we have what's called Shekar, Shegur, Shevdev, Guru Eko Vesnek. So we have 6 schools of philosophy, Vedantic philosophies, Vimensa and all that. Some of them were atheistic in the Western sense, some were theistic. Sometimes the same school had branches of theism, atheism, but they never ever argued over this. They argued about salvation, how to get mukti, and so on. And so mukti is more important, how to free yourself from suffering, how to attain that wisdom, that knowledge, which frees you from suffering. So this idea of fighting over idea of atheism and theism, again, is a hangover from the British again, with their Christian mentality. We, in our culture, we went beyond this centuries ago. There's no need to drag ourselves back down that road again. So yes, when you immerse yourself totally into Brahma, and then at the end, when Brahma immerses himself, then that was existence becomes a non-existent. That's how Magadev explained to me, because I had the same question for him as well. So the question, so they have in English translation, I'll give you a brief word. Nothing is absolute but the absolute, that nothing is absolute but the absolute.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Guruji. And I think this conference and all that we are doing is a step to illuminate whatever has been forgotten in Punjab, and hope they listen. They understand their politics, they go against it, and then, there's a new revolution that comes. I think this is what we are trying to do by all these things, because they have forgotten. And so BJP also needs to learn some lessons. Probably they'll watch this and learn. So that's all we can do. So let's hope. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Thank you.